Hey YouTubers, let me move my cursor out of the way. Just finished watching the international news, German migrants. Okay, language material. Oh boy. I'm trying to step away from that story. Okay, Istanbul. I went back in my little shopping orders and to pull up the titles of the books I got, or the material I got, because some of them was software, CDs. I've got things like Western stories recorded in Turkish with booklets that gave you the Turkish transcript. Things. It was like gosh, what was it? Robinson Crusoe, Treasure Island. So stories Westerners would be familiar with, recited in Turkish. And the booklets look like, if anyone's ever seen one of those illustrated classic things, which apparently is like a manga, graphic novel kind of thing. More comic bookish though. But yeah, I even got something like that. So I've spent a few dollars on language material. Anyone that's been watching these videos knows I don't like spending money. So if I started spending money, I was really serious about going to whatever destination I was thinking about going to. Anyway, language material. I wanted to have a separate video for this because it overlaps. I mean, what you need to do to start studying a language more or less is the same, even though the languages are structured differently, so your approach will be different, and you also have to take into account your own background. So because if you have a background in a language, even if it's just listening to it, you'd be able to achieve tasks that would be unreasonable for you to attempt in another language where you didn't have any background in. So I could not only read, you may not only be able to read, but translate material. As far as writing is concerned, don't. That's, I mean, that's if you're making your living doing that. You know, you've already acquired an advanced level. You've already acquired fluency. And now you're going to, like develop writing skills in that language. This is like advanced student run amok. Unless, again, you're getting paid for it, because that's, for the most part, that's an ego trip or just someone's very nerdy sense of entertainment, because that's it's not really useful. If you're not getting paid for that, you're not going to use it. It's ridiculous, and the effort it takes is incredible. So I've already mentioned a few of these things in previous videos. The audio component, as far as what to include in language material. First and foremost, the kind of material you use is going to depend on you entirely. It's absolutely subjective. In other words, you may prefer a textbook that deals with gosh, okay, I'm gonna use examples that I've come across. I've taken courses in Spanish, and the textbooks we've used had a lot of interactions between young people, university age, obviously, right? It's a university course. So you see a lot of I'm not going to call them soap operas, but just little exchanges that would be commonplace in a certain age group, in a certain environment. So that's, yeah. I've also, material that I've purchased for myself, nothing to do with school, also in Spanish, was more geared towards business environment. So I found that a lot easier to relate to. You know what I mean, if the material is depending a lot on a certain perspective or point of view or set of experiences, and you can't relate to that, or you don't relate to it positively, this is not going to help you in your efforts to acquire the language. And it may even hinder you depending on how negatively you respond to it. Does that make sense? Like the migrants in Germany. I had seen, I mean, now they're just talking about 5 years later. I had seen some of those things, you know, 3 years ago, or whatever, and they were talking about immigrants that were not learning the language, and it was like they don't want to learn the language. And then I'm looking at some of this language material. I'm thinking, what would a Muslim say to these these university kids in their interactions, or whether they're partying or whatever, just a little too casual, in their familiarity maybe, or even associations. If they're like traditionalist, I'm not even going to say fundamentalist, just a little more traditional in their perspective. I mean, this is some of these cultures, they completely segregate men and women for the most part, unless they're related. How would they? I mean, I didn't even like the material, okay? Old fart, fine, whatever. I found it a lot easier to interact, and you are interacting with the material on when dealing with like a businessman planning a trip somewhere, as opposed to college students or teenagers partying or whatever it is. My gosh, can you really? I mean, if you ever wanted to sabotage someone's learning process, give them language material completely inappropriate to their background. I mean, you're not gonna kill it quicker. Wow. Yeah. Language material. It's got to fit you. Okay? It's got to be appropriate for you. Okay? If it's like in your face offensive, whatever your background, you are building barricades to learning the language. I mean, it was like, this is what you do if you want to sabotage someone's learning process. Give them stuff you dang well know is absolutely inappropriate given their culture. Oof. Just like that. Gone, you know? So if you really want to sabotage someone's learning, that's a good way to go about it. Language material. Yeah. Okay. Completely subjective, absolutely critical. For you to pick language material appropriate for you. There's no way to get around that at all. Okay? So that's number one. All right? And another thing, I'm not going to mention the company because I'm not trying to get sued. But I mean, their approach to things was so convoluted that it's I looked at this, just listening to this thing. If I never want to learn a language, this is the method to follow. Oh my God. I mean, they just took something very straightforward and they made it so ridiculously impossible to maneuver. It's just, I'm not going to mention the company. I'm not trying to get into trouble. But I mean, gosh, no. So I mean, as a business model, that may be clever, since you're going to turn something that should only be a 2 or 3, no, for beginning level, for max 2 years. Not even for the beginning level, but whatever. All right. Let's just say from a starting point to getting into a kind of intermediate area, 2 years max. All right. I just can't believe some of the gall of some of these companies. I mean, they're just there to milk every single dollar out of the person because they're going to be studying this thing for the rest of their life and get nowhere. So it's just, oh my God. All right. Okay. Another thing, learning technique, memorizing techniques, the visualizing. It's good, but not when overused. I mean, they're just saying, oh, you shouldn't just have to depend on repetition. Do the repetition thing. If it's not sticking after a certain point, then you can start doing the visualize. Because if you use those like visual images, which for the most part you end up doing automatically, because you hear a foreign phrase and you hear it enough, it starts sounding like something else in your own language, and then you can take that, what it sounds like, and connect it somehow with the meaning in the foreign language. All right, a lot of these memory books get into stuff like that, and it works splendidly. But I mean, this is what you do once the usual repetition doesn't work, because that takes a lot of effort. And most of the time it's not necessary. Most of the time, after you've heard something, it just gets in there. Now the you will have problem children, whatever they call them. You know, you'll have these little odd things that just refuse to be, to fall into place, right? So it's yeah, okay. For those, a little extra harder to incorporate. Yeah, absolutely. You start make a concerted effort to use those association memory things. Make it just connected to something it more or less sounds like, or at least reminds you of, kind of, and then connect it to whatever the word actually means. And it's fantastic. It does work. It's excellent, actually. So, yeah. But that's extra work. Most of the time, that is not necessary. Most of the time, just don't be too clever for your own good. Some of these, like parlor tricks, although they're kind of impressive and they can do incredible things, I mean, it takes effort. And you're learning a whole new system of things, and it's a whole new. It's a completely different process. So just don't try to make use of it for every single little thing, because you're just adding extra work to things that usually don't need the extra work. So, for the stubborn words that just will not stick in your head, yes. For most of them, no. 70% of this stuff will just, be incorporated, kind of thing. Then you'll have the other, another 10% or 15%. That may take a little longer. And then you just have these things that, my gosh, I've got over it. These are fine. Why can't I memorize? Why won't these things stick? Okay. That's when you incorporate that kind of stuff. Otherwise, you're just making the whole process too. You're just prolonging it. It doesn't have to be that hard. Okay? So, these clever little systems are wonderful in moderation. Don't get carried away and use it every single time. It's not going to be necessary most of the time. It's a backup plan. All right, it's not the plan. It's just you're making more work for yourself for nothing. All right, what else? The audio component. If you don't have a background in the language, if you don't know what it sounds like, what it's supposed to sound like, you cannot get past the audio component, because you are going to be learning a language wrong. You're going to be doing it wrong. And then when you get to the country and you're just spewing all this thing, you're just gushing with pride because you learned all this stuff, you worked so hard, you learned all this stuff, and nobody understands what the hell you're saying. That must be heartbreaking. I mean, it takes work to learn a language. All right, it just doesn't happen. You can be in a country for 30 years and never learn the language. That happens all the time. You have to put in the work. So it's like, but if you're working and you're learning the wrong thing, it's just, it just gets to the point where you're just going to wash your hands of the whole thing and whatever. Yeah, don't don't sabotage yourself. Okay? If you don't have a back, get the audio component. Okay, that being said, if you don't have a background, um, this is if you're like tight-fisted person and you're not trying to spend any money you don't have to, don't get a phrase book. You know, the only thing, get your library phrase book, because the only part of the phrase book you ought to be looking at are the few pages up front that talks a little bit about the grammar, just a little bit, to give you a kind of sort of understanding of how it's structured. And that's it. It doesn't go crazy on you with just infinite amount of details. You don't need any of that. So, yeah, phrase books, forget about phrase books. Unless it's like your library's phrase book, so that like first 5 pages or whatever. Okay, it's not 5 pages, 10 to 15 pages. But I mean, little pages. Your phrase book is so it can fit in your pocket. Okay, so it's not like a page. It's not an Oxford Dictionary page. It's a phrase book page. It's a few inches, you know. And, yeah. So, yeah, 10 pages of that in your library's phrase book thingy. That's enough. Okay, because what you really need is the audio. The best audio thing I've found. I'm still looking at the news. I'm sorry. The best audio, audio. I don't know. They've got these standardized, popular language things. In-flight Turkish. Learn before you. I've got the title here. Hold on. Okay. Grabs. Language chat. Okay, In-Flight Turkish, Learn Before You Land, Unabridged Edition by Living Language. Oh, with booklet. I used to be able to find that in the library. Now I'm looking and they don't have it. I don't know if that means we're no longer allies or whatever the heck that means, but yeah. Because now I'm looking for it and now I can't find it. But even when the library had it, sometimes I would get the copy that didn't have the booklet, return it. I mean, if you don't have no, the whole thing is for you to be learning the language. What the heck are you going to be doing without what are you really learning? I mean, you don't even know basically what it's close to, how to form what you're hearing. And, it's just, oh my God. Yeah, no. You need the booklet. So, yes. It says, no, you don't need the booklet when you're listening to the, you do need the booklet. You need the booklet. You need to be reading from the booklet and listening to the sound and trying to figure out how that is, yeah. So, and even if you have to change, the funny thing is, I would end up changing and scribbling all in the margins of how I'm hearing it. But after I've heard it enough times, I ended up switching back to. I swear, your ear really has to get used to the sound because it is not even going to hear it the way it is being said because it doesn't, it's that foreign. So I would go through different stages. Initially, just completely different. I'm not just rewriting the whole damn thing into how I'm hearing it. And then it would change 2 or 3 times, and then ultimately I'd be back to the original version of it. So it's, oh my gosh. Or an approximation of the original because you're still trying to put it in such a way where you can use it as, as simply and as directly as possible. So you will end up using their standard of phonetics just so you can stop rewriting everything they're doing. But initially you're still changing it because this is not how you're hearing it. Because it just doesn't. So I had that weird kind. I've noticed this because obviously trying to prepare myself for the various countries I was planning to go to. Not that I was planning to travel, just like a globetrotter thing, but I just was considering and reconsidering different locations. And as I was going through the countries, I would try to learn something about the culture and the language and all that. So I just kind of developed certain attitudes about certain language materials and certain companies that produce them. And it's been interesting. Yeah. And I've absolutely dismissed one or two companies outright. As soon as I see their name on something, I kick it to the curb. Useless, at least as far as I'm concerned. And maybe even criminal. But that's whatever. Yeah, the most important language material is whatever you're using for the audio component. And my go-to audio component is the In-Flight series by Living Languages. So I think they did a really good job. They're combining the audio thing with traveler language, right? So they know what the situations most travelers find themselves in. And they do a good job. Okay, another thing is you don't have to learn the whole book. As a matter of fact, it's ridiculous to try to learn the whole book. You're not going to be using that. I mean, I would. Okay, In-Flight. What was In-Flight? Everyday expressions, and then greetings. I think the first part was greetings. Chapter 1's greetings. 2 was everyday expressions or something. I don't know what went after that. I think the restaurant thing is 9, chapter 9? I don't know. The last chapter I did cover, it's descriptive adjectives. And the first and second chapter I would cover. And then it would be I don't know, there were 2 other chapters I would focus on. But you want something that you can use all the time, all right? Not just like the airport thing. You're only going to use when you are going in there and leaving. But here's a little hint, travel point. You don't need to know a foreign language in an airport. No, let me restate that. Okay, if you're an English speaker, you don't need to use a foreign language in an airport. All right. Train station, I haven't gotten there yet, so I can't say for certain, but apparently you do. Bus station, absolutely you do. No one understands you, okay, so don't worry about it. But in an airport, all the chapters that deal with traveling in through an airport, throw it out. You can rip it out of the book because you will never need to if you're an English speaker, you won't need those chapters. What else? The hotel, you probably won't need that either. Okay, I don't know, who would, the cleaning staff probably doesn't speak English, but everyone you're going to be speaking with probably does. So yeah, no. The other parts, I don't know. If I were dealing with money, like opening a bank account, I'd only go to a bank that actually had someone that spoke English. I mean, that's my money we're talking about. Okay, so it's like, if I'm not fluent in the language, having a phrase book, no, it's not going to work for me. The other parts, I don't know. They had stuff like for small talk. I'm not into small talk. Changing money, yes. Internet, yes. So I mean, there were definitely two or three chapters beyond the first two and the last one that I got into, but that was about it. Let's see what else. When I was going, working on Vietnamese, I found that if you focus on numbers, all the sounds and all the tones are represented, can easily be learned just working with numbers. The phonetics of it, the language. And numbers, I think, are probably the easiest things to review. Because it's not, I mean, it's just numbers, right? It's completely mechanical. It doesn't take any kind of, I mean, you don't have to use any creativity or imagination. It's just numbers. So you're already overloaded with all these other kind of variations, and just all these. So if it's just easy. So it's not easy when you have to use it, though. I mean, as a prep, numbers is probably the easiest thing, because you're already going to be like have this overwhelmed with all the other cultural variations and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, numbers are universal, so you're not straining yourself on that part, and it's easy to review, and you can learn all the stuff. You can learn the phonics, the tones, all the kind of stuff is represented. You can just focus on the numbers. You can learn all that stuff in the numbers. So I mean, it's and yet you don't have to do the numbers. You don't have to get to the point where you're doing the math in your head. All right, by all means, feel free to just convert it. Don't. I'm not saying to use it like that. I'm just saying to get to get used to the sounds and the phonics and the tones. Something like just focusing on the numbers, it will give that to you. And another easy thing is like days of the week and the months. Also easy enough to review. So beyond that, travelers' phrases, verbs, nouns. Sorry, nouns before verbs, but nouns is right there. Right? Common parts of speech, because that's going to be everywhere. Right? I mean, it's not. Okay, it's a general thing. I'm going to give you the list of like the Turkish thing, the audio, the in-flight series, The Turkish textbook I found, The Delights of Learning Turkish, a self-study course book for learners of Turkish. And I got that for $25.18 back in 2016. Jeez. In August. So, yeah, 4 years ago. Okay. Let's see. I got also got a dictionary. You know the thing with dictionaries now? Who needs it? You got Google Translate. When I was in Vietnam, I mean, that was, Google Translate. Because the phrase book, since it doesn't have an audio, what the heck? And since I wasn't planning to go there, that's the only thing I was able to find when I was still in Thailand. Turkish reading set for people. Oh, that was the recorded stories I mentioned. Learning Lonely Planet, Turkish phrase book and dictionary. Again, besides the first few pages for the grammar, that was not a good purchase. But I found that out with the Spanish phrase book because, yeah, I can go crazy with that. I covered the dictionary and everything, so I really increased my vocabulary with the Spanish thing because I didn't need an audio component. So there are definitely things you can do in one language that you will not be able to do in another. And yeah, hold on. Let's see, that doesn't work. Okay, you also get some of these. When you come across someone that says you can only really learn a language if you can disregard that person. Because it's too individual a thing to be able to use that kind of comment. Okay, so from what I'm seeing, okay. Well, I see the company I've mentioned before, so I know I didn't know anything know any better at the time. Yeah, I've never wasted my money on that. In Flight, definitely awesome series. You need the booklet. It's no good without the booklet. Okay, that doesn't have an audio. Dictionary, you got Google Translate. But really, I ended up just getting something that was portable and something that would take a lot of abuse because I expected to carry that with me always. But now you got Google Translate, so it's like, not even worth mentioning it. Okay, and I found the textbook by just going through the reviews, and just out of all the descriptions, just tried to focus in on what seemed relevant to me. And so you may have to buy 3 or 4 books before you actually find something, but if the reviews are descriptive enough, hopefully 1 or 2 purchases, and you'll be able to find something that is useful to you. Okay, so In Flight for the audio component. Dictionaries, for the most part, not necessary anymore. But if you just really have to, just remember you're probably going to be carrying this thing, and it's probably going to take a lot of abuse. So anything you find useful that's more or less portable and waterproof is fine. But you're going to end up leaving. The dictionary is probably going to be the first thing you're going to end up leaving behind because you're carrying so much junk. Okay? It's just, you've got Google Translate. Yeah. Anyway. So if you really, really have to, because you're a thorough geek and you just don't think life is possible without a dictionary, I feel your pain, but that's probably the first thing you're going to ditch when you have to make the hard decision of how to lighten your load. Because you're going to be carrying too much stuff. Okay. So, but you always need the audio component. That's why the apps are so wonderful. Oh, the apps. What did I do with the... Okay, the Turkish app. I was going to write this down, but I completely forgot about it. I just came across a app a couple of days ago, and it is awesome. Okay, now I am not even, well, I lie. I am going to pay attention to the rating, but I'm not going to take it too serious, because as I've discovered, a lot of these apps are set up so you are almost required to give them a 5-star rating just to use it. So even if you haven't, you've just installed it, in order to use it, a lot of these things require you to give them a 5-star rating. And then you use it, you find out it's a piece of, and you uninstall it. But it still has your rating. What the hey, right? So, I'd be lying if I said I don't pay attention to the rating, but I still have that in the back of my mind, so I do look at it initially, but then once I start comparing it to it, I completely dismiss it, because I've already come across like 3 apps that required me to rate them before I even used it, right, with 5-star rating. So yeah, junk. Okay, what is this? It's called, hold on, Fun Easy Learn. Can you see it? Yeah, I know it's backwards. Look at the B. Cute, huh? Okay. Anyway, it only lets you do the first level for free, and then you've got to subscribe and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if I'm allowed to show you the things. Is that like, I don't know. Maybe I wasn't even allowed to show you but it has, what does it have? I'm just going to have to get better at editing, right? See, it has, can you see that? People, describing people, fashion, body, health, house, shopping, food and drinks, education, work, culture, leisure time, sports, city, transportation, communications, security, animals, plants, environment, systems, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, other parts of speech. Anybody that's studied a foreign language in high school knows that after the first 5 chapters, everything else is just building your vocabulary, right? Like these different things, environment, communications, transportation, city life, leisure time. You know, it's just building a vocabulary on a specific topic. Well, further on, they may get into a little bit more complicated grammatical structures and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, after the first 5 chapters, you're just building your vocabulary. All right, so I already made a list of what I considered relevant. I've got the list somewhere else too. Okay. Okay. Just, okay, I've got so many notes now. Blue bike all over the place. No, I erased that. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Okay. Turkish. Food. Is this thing still? Oh, 45 minutes in. Jeez. Okay, sorry. Food, shopping, house, city, transportation, communication. I drew a line there. Verbs, adjective, adverbs, other parts of speech. See, that's my focus. I have, this thing has how many categories? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and then it gets into verbs. Out of the 21, 2, 4, 6. Okay? Food, shopping, house, city, transportation, communication. For someone who basically stays more or less on their own, this is what's relevant to me. If you're a people person and you like small talk and you like to, be engaging and all that kind of stuff, your list will probably look something like the first 5 of this: people, describing people, fashion, body, health. Oh, well, just I don't know. Then it gets into house. I included that because, everyday items, whether it's like hold on, I'll tell you what it says. Types of houses, rooms, furniture, well, home decor, not really, but parts of the house, right? This is something anyone and everyone is probably going to have to just everyday existence, just to, if they said, yes, you can fill that out in the, wherever, whatever, if you don't know what the darn rooms are called, it's going to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher, right? So it's just to understand what the heck, where to go and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. All right. But depending on your own personality and the situations you are going to find yourself in, your list is going to be completely different than someone else's. Anyway, why do I find this? Why do I like this one? Oh, selection. Yeah, it had a decent rating, but what was the real, as far as me putting it, was the amount of people that downloaded it. I think this thing was like 1 million or something like that. If you see a 5-star rating on something that only has 7,000, I'm not saying it's necessarily a piece of junk, but after those apps I had to go through and give them the right rating before I was even allowed to use it, yeah, no. So, yeah, the rating, I kind of can't get away from completely. If it's got a really lousy rating, I'm not going to get it. I mean, if it's got a real high download thing and a decent enough rating, that's probably the app that's going to be the most useful. So, at least I'm finding that to be the case. Okay, what am I on now? I am on the shopping part, I think, and on the stationery, bookstore, kids' toys, cosmetics. Oh, I've got cosmetics and bath products. So yeah, I mean that was the shopping is the main thing, and then it has types of stores, appliances, kitchenware, household products, stationery, bookstore, kids' store, cosmetics, bath products, and all that kind of stuff. And of course I started with the food and drink thing. Fruits, vegetables, meat. I mean this thing is like, of course it gives you the audio. Meyve. Fruit.
Elma.
elma, apple.
portakal,
Portakal, orange.
muz,
Muz, banana.
çilek,
Çilek, strawberry.
ahududu,
Ahududu, raspberry. And then you go, see that's the initial thing. And then you go through a series of games and you're matching stuff up. You're clicking on the pictures. You're spelling parts of the words, that leaves like a hangman thing kind of thing. No hangman, but I mean it's just the words with a few of the letters missing, and you've got to. And then in other games, you may have to spell the entire thing. Just hearing them say the word aloud, and you've got to that kind of thing. So it mixes the different kind of games and gives you this, and it's got the audio, right? It's got the visuals, very nice, and it's animated. So I mean, it moves around. It's not just there's a lot going on, and the first level is free. Of course, I keep on trying to get you to subscribe throughout the thing, but if you, well, I'm not even going to try the entire list. If I get this, and I'm proficient in this in the first level, that plus the travelers, oh my god, it's already 51 minutes. Traveler's expressions. This is, okay, so, yeah. So, summation. Audio component. My number one recommendation, the in-flight series. Dictionaries, from what I can see, Google Translate is sufficient, or another online dictionary. Okay, it's portable. Free is definitely affordable, right? And a textbook that is not offensive to you, and something you enjoy using. Something put together well enough that you're not thinking, my God, they need to proofread this thing better. I've come across language material like that too. Yeah, something that's put together well so that, because if you're trying to learn a language and there are a lot of errors in that, it's just going to mess you up. It's frustrating enough trying to grasp a thing without trying to guess, is this correct or is this need proofreading kind of thing. So it's, anyway. So it's less is more in language materials. If anything, try to eliminate the amount of language material you have. Quality, not quantity. Not expensive, because if you're looking to pay up big bucks, you're gonna find what you're looking for. It's definitely, you can easily drop a heck of a bundle on stuff like this. These apps are incredible. Go for the amount of that has been downloaded, though, not necessarily the rating. But don't completely dismiss the rating. Don't get a cruddy rating. Get a decent enough rating, but a very high download number. And so far, that's worked for me. So, textbook, but the real important thing is the audio component. Apps are great if you don't take the rating too seriously. Dictionaries you probably don't need anymore. The software will cover it. The free available software covers that. And of course YouTube. videos, right? Not all of them, but pick ones you enjoy watching, and that will give you hopefully the motivation to keep at it. And that's the other part of it, being motivated, just staying with it. Okay? So, all right, this is already 55 minutes, way too long. Okay, I'll put any other thing that occurs to me in the comment section. Take care.